Now, about creative industry in general, Hong Kong upholds freedom of expression, and that's why we are very well positioned to be a cultural hub and a creative city, to the extent that in the nation's 14th five-year plan, they have given Hong Kong the needed support to develop into a cultural hub where the East meets the West. Your specific question was probably prompted by the guidelines issued by the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development on the subject of film censorship. Now, we have an ordinance in Hong Kong called the Film Censorship Ordinance, and we have a department, the OFNAA, which is responsible for administering this ordinance. When films are presented to seek approval for screening in Hong Kong, they have to decide whether that film is suitable for screening, and they have to give it the necessary classification. Now, previously, there wasn't a very clear condition or requirement about national security. But we cannot take for granted that there is a piece of legislation called the Hong Kong National Security Law, and it is not being fully implemented. So apart from enforcing this piece of national and Hong Kong legislation to deal with the four types of offenses that undermine national security, there are several very, very relevant provisions or articles in the national security law that require almost every department, every individual, every organization not to do things that will undermine national security and harm the interests of a nation, including subverting the government of the central authorities and also the Hong Kong SAR government. So I support the Secretary for Commerce Economic Development in updating the guidelines for censors to build in this condition. Otherwise, my censor colleagues, they are all civil servants, will not be alerted to this requirement in discharging their duty, which is very unhelpful. So the SED has acted in accordance with the law and in discharging his duty in respect of the Film Censorship Ordinance. But I did admit that it has perhaps caused some anxiety amongst the film industry practitioners, and also from the member representing the cultural sector, that is the Honorable Ma Fung Gok. So I spoke to Secretary Edward Yao, and he will engage the industry practitioners to assure them of what we are talking about in terms of not undermining national security. But one has to accept that rights and freedoms, including the freedom of expression, are not without restrictions. The court has ruled on many, many occasions that at the end of the day, some of these individual rights and freedoms have to be restrained by law in order to have a civilized society, in order to have a safe city. So it is a matter of striking the needed balance between respecting creative freedom on the one hand, but safeguarding national security and safety of Hong Kong on the other hand. But I can respond in the sense that the Secretary will discuss with the industry to allay their concerns and anxiety.